looking like.
Huh?
Changed. Nothing's changed.
No, still looking young.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm Luis Garcia.
Louis, John Bogan, nice to meet
Do
you.
you know?
Hey man, Andrew. Nice to meet you. What was your name again? Luis. Luis.
And what church do you affiliate with?
I don't.
Right here?
I know. I
Okay.
know. Like North Campus. Luis is one of my coming. He's coming. But,
Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Emmanuel.
Mhm.
Okay. And where do I find you?
All right, Emmanuel, we are in Hardin Valley. Our church service is literally in
Sorry,
Hardin Valley Academy. So you should be very familiar since it's a school setting here.
Yeah.
So that's where we are starting up.
Cool.
We've been
Gotcha.
in place for about 2 years now, I think. So,
Yeah, because I met with Zach a few times, I guess before it officially opened, because he was just asking some questions about, because I worked at One Life, that was the church where I was at for 7 years, and I created a lot of the policies that we followed, and not policies, it sounds so much like school, but just like systems and schedules and things like that.
Right.
So it's going well though?
yes,
Cool.
about, depending upon Sundays, anywhere between 200 and 250 now.
Yeah?
So,
Gosh, that's a lot.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's a good community.
it is a great community.
Yeah.
And coming from I was part of the initial team from West Park,
Right.
the pioneer team as we call ourselves.
Cool.
Do you know
Basically.
Melanie Chastain?
Who?
Melanie Chastain?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we're good friends.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, it's going good. I love the fact that you're being a part of a church plant. So that's been a lot of fun.
So at what point, because like One Life is multi-site, it's got 3 campuses. At what point is it always a church plant? Or at some point is it like its own entity?
It is its own entity.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And we have completely separated not completely, because
You hate those guys.
you know, it's one of those things where we'll always be a part of West Park,
Right.
Because I was there for 20-something years.
Yeah.
Playing percussion and singing in the choir and doing all kinds of stuff, and then moving to this environment, which is what I really had a passion for, which
Right.
is smaller community, being a part of a group that you can really be involved in everybody's lives.
Yeah.
You get in a big church, you kind of lose that.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I can probably piggyback on that and just, without attempting to steal a thunder, you've got a program, but
No,
that was my wife.
we're waiting on a couple
Okay.
stragglers, see if they show up too, so.
The testimony from my wife and I. So my wife is not here. She is not a part of the worship and tech team of this church. She's part of the children's ministry, which is a predominant demographic in
Right.
this particular community. She's right now with the neighborhood association. Big deal right now. Something going on with our neighborhood in South Knoxville, but she's not here. But our testimony moving from Middlebrook High here, there was a common, I guess, calling or just a desire to unify, I guess, those who we were in contact with. We were part of the group called Soul Purpose. Melanie and Deanna, my wife, and myself and other people, Michael Graham, other people who have come here too, but mostly Middlebrook Pike. But then the group dismantled. It was kind of like a Sunday school group. Dismantled, long story short. Michael Thomas, who is the pastor here, used to be the pastor at the Gathering, which was the Single in Your 20s. So we were in the Singles in our 30s group. And we made good friends. Later we married, Deanna and I, and we just ended up 2015.
Congratulations.
Here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge accomplishment. And we made it here, and just now we just kind of flow along with the community, with children here, that demographic. It is a miniature version of Middlebrook Pike.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, Rick accelerated our worship, I guess our ministry.
Yeah.
And then Joyce Bell, whose wife's Lee Bell's wife, he's one of the elders here. Same thing, big area of opportunity. Where is your skill set? And we were applied pretty quickly.
That's cool.
That's just a feature about this church. You bring something to offer, and there will be a way to put it into practice pretty quick. We love it. We love the community aspect of it.
It's an understatement.
Yeah.
You get over involved pretty quick too.
Yeah, we try to keep it, of course, I mean, our perspective, my wife and I, would be, brought together to serve each other as a family because of our backgrounds as single people leading up to being married. So that's first. Then there's here. So yeah, we're rolling along with the punches here with those ultra early Sundays and all that.
How early?
6:45 to start preparing for the 9 o'clock
Yeah.
service. I hope that goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that rehearsal on Sunday
It's
mornings?
rehearsal, yeah. It's rehearsal for all teams combined, which is the vocals.
Right.
And the slide and tech and batteries and cables and
Yeah.
tech teams and the instrumentalists.
Yeah, I know that can be tough. Is that different at each of your different places? Like, is it a Sunday morning rehearse first and then services? Kind
We
of
do
thing?
Wednesday night rehearsal.
Wednesday, okay, gotcha. 'Cause I know there's like autonomy within the fellowship campuses, so you can kind of do whatever leadership wants. And I've done both, and both can be stressful for me in different ways. So talk to me a little bit about like Wednesday nights. Like, how does that normally go, and how does it feel on Sunday mornings?
Part of, let's see, so Wednesday nights, so we've all had the songs for probably weeks, it's scheduled out weeks in
Yeah,
advance.
yeah.
So Wednesday
I like
night
that.
we get there and, people usually have their parts, it's just a matter of, doing different arrangements or trying out different things and things like that.
Cool.
So we have just the band and vocalists. Sometimes the tech guys will come and just get practice on the board. And so that usually lasts between an hour and a half, something like that.
Okay.
And then Sunday mornings, we meet at a school, and so we show up I show up at 7 to start, because setting up the drums and all that just takes a
Yeah.
lot longer.
Yeah.
So we try to start practice, just a run through or two around 8:15, and then our service starts. What time our service starts?
Because you're just there,
I
and then
start
it
when
just kind of happens.
Yeah, I think
right?
it starts at 10. I think it's like 10 to 7.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we're probably a lot like them.
Yeah.
In the fact that we have everything on rolling carts.
Rolling it all in. Yeah.
We have a big stage, Hard Valley Academy that we do our setup on.
Right.
Everything's roll out, including all the sound equipment. I mean, when you say everything, we're plugging it up, and tearing it down every Sunday morning.
Right.
From the get-go. And so we'll start out typically, our services doesn't start till 10:30. So we'll typically have a Thursday night session where we just like you said, you fine tune what you want to play. Maybe have to change a key, do something along that. From a drum perspective, that's not as important, other
Yeah.
than just understanding the rhythms that they want to present.
Right.
Then Sunday morning we'll get there about 8, do our setup, go through 1 or 2 times through the set, and then we're off and running at 10:30.
Gotcha.
Tear it all down.
Yep.
Roll it back away. We're done usually about 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
All the time.
That's how One Life was for the first 3 years. I volunteered there before I was on staff, and the first 3 years was Powell High School. We would
Mhm.
load everything in the back, roll all the carts in, and it was
Yeah.
awesome.
The nice thing about it is Hardin Valley's an awesome place.
Really? That's great.
They have allowed us to store stuff there.
That's awesome.
So we have our own little closet.
Yeah.
That we roll stuff in and out. We built big platforms that we have all our
Like set
gear
pieces
on.
kind of
Mhm.
things. Cool.
And yeah, it works out really good.
Nice.
All the drum sets basically sits in one big case. It's locked up. You just roll it out, break it down.
Now you're just bragging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then, Luis, you're here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the church purchased this, the leadership and the entire membership, I guess, put it out to, I guess the particular system about this church, I'm still new to that, is membership votes to pray in favor and go forward with the leadership's calling to make a decision when it's impacting the entire congregation as a whole. So the second service was one, the choosing of another elder, that will be another example. So the purchase of the building was one, and that involved commitment, financial commitment from anybody else, saying, well, this is up to us now. So regardless of how financial accounting goes on between the campuses, I have no idea how that goes. But the point is that now we do have the luxury of just putting the drums out.
Yeah.
And I suppose valuables would probably be better if you just put them away. But whether or not you've known that there's now at this campus, they implemented an alarm, or there's a code to come in for those of us who are coming ultra early on Sundays.
Gotcha.
So that relieves the pressure from a person trying to multitask between the rehearsal responsibilities and the door for anybody coming in late or early.
Yeah.
So we leave the drums out, and the microphoning and all the things that you just saw that are up on that stage. But before that, with the school here, there would be shared responsibilities. They could actually, with our own church, there are ministries that need the stage sometimes for an act or whatever they need to do. So
Puppets? Do they do like puppets and the felt board? Like,
I don't know. I
Vacation
really
Bible
don't know.
School?
There's a kind of like a.
that was a very growing up Baptist thing.
Yeah, no, that I
Not
don't
so
know
much
that
that.
happens. Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
No, there's more of a little like a youth teenage gathering. Sometimes that they use the stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So Rick will probably know more about that. But
Yeah, yeah.
We leave the stage out, and it's the connection aspect and the battery aspect and the troubleshooting aspect if something goes wrong. See, none of that truly falls on, even though the drummer plays the drums,
Yeah.
or the bass player plays the bass, each instrumentalist or member is coming to perform.
Right.
But there's a tech structure in the background responsible of knowing, well, if there's static here, then push this button.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, that's a crazy world.
So therefore, there's still a joint responsibility, and I don't know that there's any way around the ultra early
Yeah.
program that we have on Sundays, because according to perhaps Rick's perspective, different than just coming in and coming here to perform your instrument, there is the preparation for the unknown, the uncertainties,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
risks of static cables, batteries. So for that reason, he would rather not just come Sunday morning, flip a switch, and all right, let's just execute what we've rehearsed during the week.
So it's not a during the week rehearsal, correct? Okay.
And not at this stage.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
he's put it into a beta testing
Yeah, sure.
phase, which in my opinion is basically just a period of time to just listen to fires. If there are fires that raise and families say, hey, man, I can't deal with this thing, he'll pay attention and he'll weigh out those escalated fires. But I don't know how he's handling that. That's a Rick.
Okay.
That's a Rick.
Yeah.
question.
And I'm asking more for like
Yeah.
the worship setting and like drums specifically. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Normally, what I would do in like these kind of settings is just go through, like I've got 6 big points that I like to talk through. What we'll do, because we're kind of a smaller group, is I'll still talk through them just a little bit, just see like what might be helpful for you all, and we'll do a couple fun things on the kit. Hopefully some things that you haven't experienced before and that might be a little out of the ordinary. So what I normally start with is just practicing. So not practicing like with the group, because I would call that rehearsing, like the Sunday morning thing. But tell me a little bit about how each of you all approach practicing the songs before rehearsal. So like what's that look like for you during the week?
So for me, the first thing I do is I print out the lyric sheet.
Okay.
I'm really bad at memorizing all the the cues and things like that. So I print things out. I listen to the track.
Yeah.
And basically write out each a measure of each beat that's in the song.
Yeah.
Write notes about transitions or breaks or whatever. And so then I play through the song several times until I feel comfortable about it.
Cool.
And then when Wednesday night comes, we get together, maybe edit some stuff.
Mhm.
And so then I just, get a chance to kind of fellowship with the
Fellowship.
fellowship with the
I
song
get
a
it.
little bit. Let it marinate.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's Andrew, right? Not Adam. Whenever I meet someone new named Andrew or Adam, have we met before? Okay. I always get the name confused. Like if you tell me Andrew, I'm gonna call you Adam at some point, because in my head they just look the same or something. Yeah.
Try to do the
It's
opposite
weird.
of what you mind.
There you go. That's it. That's what I tell loud drummers. Yeah.
All right, so I do not have a kid at the house.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is problem number one.
Can't be tough. Not impossible.
No, it's not impossible. So my process is a lot like yours. I'll listen to the music, I'll write down what I want to hear, and then I go through that in my brain and listen to the music and listen to the music. I'll
Yes.
rewind it. What are they trying to do here? A lot of times I try not to replicate exactly what they're playing, and I think that's from time to time annoys Zach a little bit.
Okay.
Because, you know, it just seems to fit in a certain role. I've been playing percussion for a long time, so
Mhm.
I add stuff and I take away stuff.
Yeah.
I think stuff should be more simple when the drum part doesn't need to be simple.
Mm.
So I go through that process.
Gotcha.
I'll have the song basically baked in, and then we start rehearsal. It never goes exactly the way that they want to. I wish sometimes that they wouldn't be so precise that they want to have the click track, and that drives everything, because I think sometimes songs need to breathe,
Okay, gotcha.
slow down a little bit, speed up a little bit, whatever, but you adapt to that
Sure,
part as well.
sure.
But yeah, that's kind of my process all the time.
Okay, cool. And Luis, what do you do?
I think I'm a mix of both of you.
Yeah.
So drums alone, there's a 25% capacity for being the really backup bass player. So if I'm ever called to play bass, I do what you do. I can't memorize, and I can't read charts, by the way, for drums or for another instrument. I was given the opportunity, and I passed along that opportunity when I was in development. But I would try to see what is A, you know, and what is E, and all these things, and I would YouTube something with bass. But for drums, I would fast forward, I would rewind as needed. Now, everything I do falls under the managerial style, under the leadership style from this church, what freedom means for this church, and what is expected from this church. So there is freedom, we enjoy it, we love it, you know, and within those parameters of freedom, there happens to be what we do, click track. Even though I may not want to replicate a song exactly the way the track sounds, sometimes that's what comes out, because that's what the leader's trying to do, and you just pick up on that. So you just do it. I am a big person when it comes to quality, and when it comes to I'm big on quality, and I'm particularly also big on providing texture. So what I try to do is, I'll give an example. What I try to do is, if I hear a song on the track where I think, what is he or she doing? Where does that come from? I try to execute that, and I've gone the length of buying my own toys and bringing them to church. For example, before the sleigh bells were available for me here,
Yes.
I built my own.
I want Christmas.
I literally went to Sally Beauty Supply. I got a.
Did you build your own?
I built my own 80 pack of Legos, and I put a wire in between.
Lisa's bootleg drum toys.
And I built my own because I like the way that sounds.
Yeah.
So I have ending up basically performing to the point of relieving my left arm, because that's my ability, and I'm a righty. I would play the right hand with the drumstick on drums and cymbals, but my left hand would be playing the shaker because nobody else is there to play it. Another, Rick has limitations when it comes to channeling the sound. They're big on archiving here, so therefore they're big on recording videos. So if there's not a channel for a percussionist, then if I want the sound to have a shaker, to have a tambourine while the drums are playing, I have to do it on my own. I can let it go, but if I let it go, to me it sounds bad quality. So I end up trying to do both at the same time, and that sometimes feels busy, but I like the challenge.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
Cool.
That's how I do it.
Yeah. It sounds like you all have really good handle on like sitting down and charting and learning songs and stuff. So it's cool because we can kind of skip over a few things that I generally talk about. But do Do you ever feel like you don't practice enough?
Oh, absolutely. All the time.
Gotcha.
I've decided that if I can, in a perfect world, if I can set it up to where I can have just a basic set of like Rollins that I can put headphones on,
Yeah.
won't drive my wife nuts. I want to have something like that
Yeah.
in the house.
Cool. Do you ever, like, as you're charting specifically, and learning through the songs, listening and stuff, do you ever, like, air drum with it?
Yes, all the
Physically?
time.
Okay, cool.
Right now, that's what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just gonna say, if it is something you weren't doing, it can be helpful because you're still, like,
Yes.
moving the muscles and
Yep.
stuff. So, yeah. There's an old, I can never remember the drummer's name, but have you all ever heard of Dave Brubeck?
Absolutely.
Jazz dude?
Great jazz drummer.
Yeah, and his drummer would always he like lived in an apartment, didn't have a kit, and would just air drum like the parts that he planned on playing, and just like destroyed every gig that they played. It was- yeah, just from like moving around, muscle memory. So cool. Yeah, it sounds good. And I just love hearing that you all are adaptable to create new sounds and play the exact parts, even if you want to add more and take away. And I love that you said take away some things too, because something I've noticed about a lot of modern worship songs, and this might be me just being a little old school or simplifying, but like a lot of the Elevation and Hillsong stuff that's out there right now gets a little busy to me, and without a big arena or wherever they're playing in a great mix and everything, that can be a little bit much. So what's an example of a time that you simplified something for everyone also? Any specific songs that you're thinking of? What I'll go ahead and name one. Sorry, I asked it and then I'm going to answer it. But Here Is in Heaven, have you ever heard that one by Elevation?
Yes.
Okay, I'll demonstrate. Let me
I'm
shut
down
this
with
door.
titles of songs.
Me too. But once I hear it a
I
little
would ask
bit,
how
then
to
I go, oh yeah, I remember this song.
The very end of this song, I wish I could pull it up, but it just has
It's, by the way, is that your set, the Ludwig?
yeah, this is one of mine. It's got a high tom, but I just was a little lazy and didn't bring everything in here. But my best kit's a Pearl Masters. It's an older, I don't even know what year it is, but it has a 15-inch floor tom.
Oh,
Just a weird size, and it sounds.
I mean, it's got a good thumpy sound
Yeah,
to it too.
yeah, it's not like too huge, but it's not like tiny. So.
Yeah.
The very end of Here Is in Heaven by Elevation has this part. I'll play just a little bit loud, see what happens. Trying to keep that a little quiet for you, but just all those bass drums and in a certain mix. Like, I love that you all are thinking about that and you're aware of it, because doing all of that can just be a little too much,
Yep.
maybe. So, any examples you thought of times where you felt like simplifying is going to be better for the overall worship experience?
I could answer that depending on, this is what I do. When I'm assigned to play, the first thing I do is I look at the lineup. I go look at who's assigned to play bass, who else is playing.
Yeah, like what other instruments are you going to have?
Because I don't know if I'm going to turn out to show up on Sunday and it'll be Rick and I. He'll be singing and I'll be playing drums and that's it. I mean, on a catastrophic level, that would be disastrous.
That's like the lowest or the minimum level, right?
I mean, I install Planning Center on my device, and the first thing I do, I accept the invitation, and I go and I see who else is playing. So if I, for example, notice that there's the banjo mandolin player here with.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I want that. Bluegrass.
Well,
Which doesn't involve drums.
been involved lately. I go based off my performance and my execution, and the sound will be based on who's playing.
Right.
So if there is a keys player, then okay, well there'll be filling in the background. So okay, maybe less cymbals, maybe less toys. If there's a bass player, a keys player, and an electric guitar player, man, that takes care of most of the melody.
Mhm.
So that's where keep it stupid simple, right? That's what I try to do. But if there's just acoustic guitar, bass, and drums, I'm gonna want to try to cut out on that big
Yeah.
shiny stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll probably bring in the tambourine, bring in the shaker.
Right.
The hot rods.
Yeah.
To make the sound. I even put, before the hot rods, I would bring a t-shirt. I would probably,
Put it over
a
the
haze
snare.
and put it over the snare.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm big on gels.
Yeah, we use gels too.
That sort of thing. That's how, I always look at the context.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
There was a particular song that we were doing that I just thought, this is how simplified I decided to go. I just basically did not bring in the drum set at all, and I just brought in a set of congas with a shaker,
Cool.
and just dropped everything out, and just played some simple rhythms from that perspective,
Mhm.
and it brought everything down, made it much more acoustic, and it was just a nice fit. And like to your point, listening to the songs, figuring out who's going to be in part of that, and then playing down to that level.
Right. Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Adam, Andrew, I was just kidding.
I think kind of like you, I've noticed just like in modern worship, it's just I think the drummers are a little too busy.
Yeah.
And like our purpose isn't to be showy or, show our chops or anything like that. So
Love it.
some of the songs I try to convey the same sort of feel for the song, but just simplify a little bit. Plus we meet in a gym, and so there's acoustical
Yeah.
things. There's different skill levels as far as mixing the sound goes, and so I think that simple is always better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For sure.
You get lost. I mean, you really can get,
Yeah.
you're listening and everything going on, and you're super focused on adding so much more rhythms that now you're fluctuating and causing tempo problems.
Sure.
Has
Yeah.
your church addressed the acoustic element that you were,
Yeah, I think it actually works out a lot better than I thought it would when I heard that we're meeting in a gym. So unfortunately, that means for the drums, it's a full cage and
Got
sound
it.
panels on top.
Gotcha.
But mic'd up, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Very cool. You mentioned something about a click. I've got three big questions for you, for everybody. Do you ever feel like you're struggling with sticking with the click? Can't even talk.
Yes.
Do you ever,
Yeah.
do you tend to go a little ahead of the beat or get a little behind, depending
I
on
tend to
song?
speed up.
I tend to speed up, too.
Okay, speed up.
And I literally have to just say, okay, chill.
Yeah.
I can't say that would be my case, but the tendency, it's still a brand new measure for me. It's still
Okay.
a brand new world.
Yeah.
Oddly speaking, it felt natural.
Cool.
Oddly speaking, it felt natural. When I learned the instrument, there was a pattern build up in my mind that was already hardwired. Back with rotary phones, I used to get lost when the sound was busy, a busy sound. I would also remember forming patterns when I would rotate the rotary phone, and I would
Okay.
just start, and that was when I was 12
Yeah.
or before. So the click track sort of clicked with my mind.
Right.
But
Okay.
when I'm excited though, I tend to speed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that would be the deficiency.
Gotcha.
That comes from that. Maybe once every month or so, there's a certain moment where it's not nervousness, it's just excitement.
Yeah.
Or when
It's a good thing.
Or when Rick takes a day off and has to go to Tampa, whatever, and you build it. Whenever bringing a new leader, there's a little bit of a chaos. That's when I
Okay.
take rehearsal a little bit more serious.
Okay.
Because we want to iron that out before the service.
Yeah, definitely. I gotcha.
Yeah.
This is a question I want to ask
Yeah,
y'all
yeah.
too.
By the way, we'll do an exercise in just a minute.
My
That'll help with the time.
biggest, more than anything else, is when you go through like 10 measures and you're nothing but rolling across toms and floor toms and hitting basics. So you're going after it. That's when I tend to speed up.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we'll do. That's good. We'll do something here in just a minute. Another question though, Andrew, you're talking about printing out lyric sheets first, right? Not chord charts.
Not the chord charts.
Not chord charts. Lyric sheets. Why lyric sheets?
I don't need the chords,
Okay.
and so that gives me more space to make my notes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you all ever learn the songs like to be able to sing them?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever sing them while you're playing?
Gotcha.
No.
I do.
Does it for you all, does it come pretty naturally with the parts that you're playing? Yeah, okay.
I would say, yeah.
Okay. I would say try that as an exercise, as an additional kind of thing next time you're practicing. Maybe not in rehearsal, but practice it a little bit first. Because I think, I'm not saying any of you all have this issue, but if you ever do have an issue with like keeping track of where you're at in the song, being able to know where you are in terms of lyrics can be really helpful. And also, getting a little outside of, I'm a drummer, but more of a worship leader. I know we talked about that a lot last year. Where would you all say you're at with that? Not really giving a scale or anything, but when you're up on stage, like what are the things that go through your head as you're playing? Like in the middle of a song? Because I'll tell you what I do. Sometimes, especially if it's a song that I've played a whole bunch of times before, and I know the words, and I'm not really, feeling worshipful. That happens sometimes. I'm just kind of up there like playing, and I'll think about something that's going to happen later on in the day, and my mind just starts wandering. And then I'm back, and I'm like, oh, I hope everything went well for the past, 8 measures. Normally it does. But what kinds of things go through your head as you're playing up on stage?
I think for me, I know I can have a tendency to get distracted.
Okay.
And so lately, what I've been trying to do is really count in my head with the song.
Okay, cool.
So a lot of my cues that I give myself for stopping and starting and all that kind of stuff is I write the beat number. So just trying to follow that way helps
Cool.
me both stay on beat better,
Right.
and not wander, and just sound better in
Yeah.
general.
Cool.
Okay, this is a weird thing. So, I like looking at the piano's sheets,
Okay.
so that I know crescendos, decrescendos, where I'm supposed to be dropping out,
Gotcha.
that kind of stuff. And if I can focus on that as much as I can,
Yeah.
because it's hard to look and do this,
Yeah.
at the same time. So when I was at West Park, the piano player was right in front of me.
Yeah.
So I was literally looking over her shoulder and looking at her music to try to figure out, where were we
Right.
going in. And then I just listen.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if you have a choir director or you have your leader, they're going to basically, we're needing to drop down here, we're needing to build up here. You need to be building up the frames throughout in this particular section.
Mhm.
So we listening.
Right.
And I know you've got your headphones in and you're trying to listen to the click and everything. I've gotten where I throw this one off.
Yeah.
So I can just hear everybody else and everything else that's going on around me.
Yeah.
That way, and keep the click still in one ear, so
Right.
to speak.
Which I have to give this PSA because of my audiologist years ago said this, but that's really bad for your hearing, but I also do it. Like I'm always left ear in, right ear's out just a little bit, so I'm
Yeah.
still getting some sound from my earbud, but I want to hear the drums that are right in front of me. And she even said like, what are they called? Not fluted, but like if you get some custom molds, which I don't even use anymore, you can get them like vented or what did you say?
Yeah, vented, I think is what they call
Vented,
it.
yeah, and then you can hear like what's in front of you as well as the drivers in your ears. But all that to say, it's really bad for your hearing. Don't do it, but I also do it. It feels better most
Well,
of the time.
I want to hear the choir.
Oh, there's a choir, nice.
Well, when I was playing at West Park.
Yeah, okay.
And
yeah.
I was drumming there.
Right.
I wanted to feel the choir and hear the choir back
Yeah.
behind me, So, they got like a 60-minute choir there, so.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of choir and tracks these days.
Yes.
Which I like it sometimes, and sometimes I like the more raw kind of sound. But Luis, what would you say?
What occupies my mind when I play drums is part of the learning curve that I have with God Himself. It's sort of a conglomerate of this is the chop skill set that you have because God decided to pour it in me and not my neighbor.
Yeah.
Plus the adoration and the worshiping part. So I try to do both.
Yeah.
I realize there's a revelation, I suppose, that is part of just walking with God. So it wasn't there before, but at my 42 years of age now, that's what I know. We're worshiping together as a congregation.
Mhm.
I'm no different than the person down there. It used to be a part before where there was self-consciousness of, I don't want to come and be seen as if I'm trying to demonstrate something.
Okay.
That has gone away.
Yeah.
Like not a look at me kind of thing.
No.
The self-consciousness has gone away after accepting the reality that what it truly means, this here, sin comes to the world, God immediately has a plan. It took years, thousands of years, but Jesus was his plan the moment that sin entered the world.
Yeah.
So now that he's been our Redeemer, we're back to being full, like it was in the Garden of Eden. So I am full right now. So therefore, there should be no self-consciousness.
Yeah.
In that state of mind, there should be absolute freedom. So when I come and play, I could be at some point perhaps slightly self-conscious that the pastor might say, hey, it was awesome, just remember, tone it down.
Okay.
But I don't have that anymore. I just
Yeah.
come and worship.
Cool.
And I know drums because that's the language I speak. So
Right.
I don't take my ears off because of how structured Rick is here. I have
Yeah.
to say, I could be worshiping under a different leader, but that's how
Yeah.
he is.
Right.
Because I know that he likes it structured. I keep my ears. I make a point to tune my little console
Right.
to the cello player, to the whatever mandolin player, or just the acoustic guitar, the 12-string guitar, whoever's playing. I make a point to tune that really well so that I hear it through my ears. I never take this off.
You're gonna have your hearing longer than we are, I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly, that's what I'm thinking.
There's been improvement in
Yeah.
the distraction. There's been improvement in the self-consciousness.
Sure.
That's gone away. Kind of like that nervousness when you're a teenager. It's gone away.
Right.
So it's more of a group adoration. But I'm the drummer, so I would like to demonstrate to the audience. Here's how you worship the Lord in freedom. For those of you who, for whatever reason, you're going through something, you can't have that expression. Here's how it should be. That's what goes on in my mind.
Do you want to switch seats?
I'm sorry?
You just teach some more. It's awesome. No, it was really good. I was just saying it was really good.
Yeah.
Or you should write a book or
I
something.
mean, I go through problems too, and
Yeah,
I try
yeah.
to keep them aside though.
That's cool.
That's all.
Yeah, that's great.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
If we're not here to worship,
Yeah.
we don't belong. God's not using you in the way he needs you.
I lost my job at some point, and sales was the reason. And the first thing I did was I came to Rick and Michael Thomas and said, if you choose to continue to assign me every Sunday, you're going to ask me to praise about something that I may not be feeling it. Is that your choice? Is that what you choose to do? So I may not be grateful about what I'm saying I'm grateful for up there. So do you want that? And that was it's in itself a catalyst to come to accept that it's all about the eternal perspective. It's not
Right.
about us.
Yeah. It's
So
really cool.
that has disciplined me to keep the mindset I have. But it's
Right.
not a perfect environment.
Yeah.
My
yeah.
wife and I have problems. We have financial restraints, but we tune those out.
Yeah.
That's all.
And to just further that idea and the idea of like practicing and stuff that we've been talking about, as much as you're practicing or even air drumming or charting and all that kind of stuff, like try and make it more of a meditation than a practice. Like as you're thinking about the words and working on singing the words along with what you're playing, which is a good way to simplify parts too. Like turn those things into a prayer as well, which maybe you're already doing, but I think it can be really helpful. Just kind of like the verse I usually think about as I'm teaching these sorts of things is 1 Corinthians, I believe it's 10:5. It's take every thought captive and take every drum hit captive. Like, is this purposeful? Is this just what's on the song, or can I make it even more purposeful for worship by simplifying it? So, let's do a couple of exercises here. I'm pulling up a metronome on my phone. We did this last time too.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you all ever heard of Victor Wooten,
Oh, yeah.
bass player? No?
I think so.
He's
Black dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He is amazing, and he has this video on YouTube where he does the same exercise with bass player. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I don't think so.
Okay. The funniest thing, this is totally off topic, but the funniest thing in that video is he says the time signature when he means tempo, and they just left it in there. He said the time signature is 160 beats, and then it just rolls with the rest of the video. It's like, does he know? Does he not know? I'm sure he does. But anyway,
I guarantee you he knows.
I know he knows. He probably watched back and he was like, "Nah, whatever. I'm Victor Wood." So this is an exercise I do to work with timing and speed. Not so much speed, but mostly timing and sticking with the clicks. So I'm gonna have all of you do this too. So get ready. And I'll do it with a couple different patterns. Basically what I'm going to do is start the click at 160. I'm just going to leave it right here on my floor tom. I know some people don't like putting things on their drums, and I don't care, so I'm just going to leave it. But there's a specific reason I'm putting it here also. And what I'm going to do is just play the simplest, like AC/DC style rock beat at 160, and then start cutting the metronome down to 80, and then 40, and then 20, and then 10, and see if I can keep time and keep coming in with it. So here's 160. I'll do the easy beat this time. Also, we won't do this today, but if you ever want to work on playing a little bit behind the beat or ahead of the beat, move that snare hit around a little bit. Anyway, 80.
When you're playing behind the beat, is your hi-hat and your snare in sync, or do you do kind of like a flam?
I kind of do a flam, and my white boy brain thinks more as a flam, and my black friends who play drums and bass and stuff,
They live in that world.
they're living it and they're
They
feeling
do.
it a little more, and it's hard to talk to them about it, but they're just like
If you
right
listen
there,
to like really
right
good
there
jazz
in it. Yeah.
drummers, they're like a little bit behind everything, and I don't know how
So
they do it.
consistent, but the quarter notes still.
Yeah, it's still deadly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So 80. That air conditioner is extremely loud. I'm not sure if you're gonna get anything from the video. I'm meant to make a bunch of Jim Halpert faces at the camera for.
Oh, is it being
for
recorded
people
here?
for later? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can look at it if you want. Okay, 40.
Yeah, we never play that with that.
It's slow.
Yeah.
It's like Revelation song. Have y'all ever done Revelation
Mhm.
song live? It's like 56 or
Yeah.
something. The original. Okay, 20. It's gonna get a little tricky. And the other big benefit of this is that if I'm just leaving my metronome here on the tom, I have to be dynamic and play way, way low and work on that. Good for a gym if you're not in the cage, that kind of thing. So, all right, 10.
That's hard.
I'll keep trying for a minute. Yeah.
So when,
move it around a little
when
bit.
we all play click at our church,
Yeah.
this place gives you an iPad and there's a little ball,
Right.
a little circle that just, you see that. So if you get off, you can always, off track, you can always look at the ball, right? And go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That's how we, whatever program or app
Yeah.
Rick uses here, I'm not sure if you guys follow that.
So you have an iPad that you can use up there?
Yeah, there's an iPad to stop, to move along songs,
Right.
between songs. So
Pick
one song-
different ones, and they have the different tempos
Yeah,
already.
the song lineup assignment will be different beats. Some could be 3/4,
Right.
you know, and then all 4/4 over here. But so the drummer's responsible really for everybody else and the instrumentalist to hear that. So you're supposed to use the iPad here and press stop.
Yeah,
And then the
right.
song. that was the other advantage. You can always see the ball, the little circle
Mhm.
pulsating, and you can go in that direction if you're off.
I like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
I didn't know you had that capability.
I don't know, tempo, I think that's the name of the app. Does that make sense? Tempo?
Maybe.
I think that's the
Yeah.
name of the app.
This one's just Metronome app.
Okay.
It's free on iOS or whatever, or you can pay for it. And I think you can program tempos for that kind of thing. Okay, I'll do this one more time. I'll move through it a little faster for you so we can get to you all playing a little bit too. This is more advanced. I'm going to do a paradiddle groove between my hi-hat and snare. Keep it still pretty simple on the kick and see how low I can go, and it might get a little tricky. Okay, try 80.
Do you find once you start getting more complex rhythms
Mhm.
that, for me, and I'm just speaking for myself,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I start doing a lot more complex type rhythms,
Sure.
that's where I speed up too.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's different for me because I grew up on Parliament, Funkadelic, Tower of Power, James Brown, so I tend to be more behind the beat naturally. So I tend to actually go a little bit slower and a little more laggy
Right.
with that kind of stuff. But when I first started drumming, doing fills and trying to play around the kit, I would always go faster and then
Okay.
end up crashing out way sooner than
Yeah.
the chorus needed to be. So
I
yeah.
don't feel so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Okay, here's 40. Okay. 20 usually starts to get a little sticky. No, I don't know why I even tried 10. I just like embarrassing myself a little bit in front of people. And another good, slightly spiritual practice for you. If you're playing, try and just think of this Sunday or the next Sunday that you're playing. Be aware of if you're smiling or not.
Yeah.
Just think about it. Think, am I? And it doesn't mean like you have to or anything, but just see if, like, start to build that awareness a little bit. Anyway, I'm gonna try 10. Sorry, I'm like bouncing all over the place with these topics. Ooh, off. Yeah.
That's hard.
And I think if you can see the beats and maybe subdivide them, that'd be a good thing to do with 10 beats per minute. So look at it for a second.
And then you said the
look
app's
away.
called Tempo?
Yeah.
I believe so. I'll circle back with you because I
Okay.
don't need to
Yeah.
ask Greg. I think it's tempo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll set these over
Somehow he
for you.
has
So we'll start at 160.
channeled into the
That's a
Yeah,
good idea,
that
'cause
one.
yeah.
We
I
can
don't have
go
an
back to the,
iPad or anything.
It's just a click.
It's just a click, that's it.
Yeah.
Will you do halftime? Cool. Yeah. So 8. This is also really good, like from what I was saying early in my drumming career, I would speed up fills. Try this with fills too, and just see if you end up ahead of the beat. Don't do it right now, but as you're
That'd be
practicing.
kinda hard to do.
Yeah, there's not much to fill on here. Nice internal clock. All right, 40. There's a drummer named Derek Roddy who has some videos on YouTube. He's like a big metal blast beat kind of guy. And he sets a metronome to 40 in one of his videos. He actually doesn't do very well with it, but tries to do all that stuff.
I've seen it. Do you know Matt Garska?
Yeah.
I've seen him do something similar, set it for like 30.
That dude's crazy.
Yeah, he's insane.
The band that Matt Gartzka plays with does stuff that's in like 13/8, switches to 7/8 for a while, and then back and forth, and it's always got a groove to it.
Crazy.
Okay, 40. Start it. Nice. That was really cool to hear change over time because you were very consistently ahead of the beat,
Yeah.
like in the same spot, and then you eventually got it just locked in there. Okay, 20.
And by the way, those shoes are great shoes to play drums with. They're
Sure.
light.
Word.
Seriously?
At the outlet, Old Navy outlet.
Oh man, that's awful.
Yeah, you got it locked in there. Okay, I'm gonna start 10,
Okay.
and I want you to try and keep track and come in with the next.
Okay.
But, okay.
Oh man, speed that up. That's difficult. Oh,
Cool.
man.
Yeah, all good. The 10 thing is killer. Yeah, so definitely do this one at home. Do it with different patterns. Like pick the hardest pattern that you're doing on a Sunday, find that tempo, and try this with it.
Yeah.
And it's again doing double duty because it's tempo and it's also dynamics. Like you've got to be so quiet and locked into that dynamic range. So yeah, go ahead and switch. Will you go ahead and try it? All right, 160 when you're ready. Cool. I'll cut yours off a little short just for time's sake. Let's do 80.
Okay.
Gotcha. Stuck on 79. same thing.
Infamous 10.
The infamous 10. I'll start it, try and come in on the next.
Yep.
Here we go. Locked it in there. Got a little natural, like Ringo swing to your playing. I like it. It's cool. Luis.
Should like that. My pockets were playing.
I'll feel the same way. Like my keys are up there on stage somewhere. I'll have to find them later.
See, I'm the shortest. Look at this angle.
Nice. Mixing it up a little too. And I don't know if this is what you were doing exactly, but as you got a little bit ahead, you simplified the beat to get back on
Yeah.
track and then try something more
Yeah.
complicated. That's a great way to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, without seeing the ball.
80. Cool. By the way, you all are the most like good at dynamics of any clinic I've ever taught.
Mhm.
This is awesome. Just keeping it like in a good dynamic range. All right, down to grave 40. Cool. Let's do 20. This is still grave. This is just more grave. You're digging it. Cool. And 10.
Infamous 10.
Also, this is great to do if you want to go up to like 240, 120, 60 BPM, 30, 15, if you want to mix up the tempos a little bit.
Usually take my ring off.
All right, ready? Cool. Yeah. Getting pretty close. Pretty close.
We usually try to feel it first.
Will you stay there for just a second? There's one last thing I want to do before we bring the bass people in here.
Yeah.
And again, awesome job on all of this. Will you play? I'm going to give you a specific set of notes to play. It's going to be a linear groove. Are you familiar with what linear would mean?
Nothing there.
Opposite of that. So nothing is going to hit at the same time. It's going to be each separate thing all by itself. So
Ah,
I'll give you the first three. It's going to be kick drum, snare, and then hi-hat.
Okay.
So those three in a row. Kick, snare, hat.
Okay. So just build
play
pattern.
Yeah, those three in a row, like 1, 2, 3. Okay? The next three are going to be kick, snare, kick. So same first three, then 4, 5, 6. Okay? So now treat these these like eighth notes, so there's not going to be any rest in between. Kick, snare, hat, kick, snare, kick. Try air drumming a little bit
Yeah,
too,
it's
'cause
fun.
I'll have you come up and do it in a second.
It will be more like 7/4, but
Okay, so no rest right there. Okay, let me go ahead and give you the last two. It's going to be hi-hat and then snare. So this is a 4/4 pattern, all eighth notes. So hat, snare at the end, and then repeat.
hats.
There you go. Very nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Nailed it. So, if you're ever feeling like, is that a joke?
Yeah.
If you're ever feeling like I'm kind of, bored with the worship patterns that I've been practicing, which to me honestly happens kind of a lot, because once you get into them, it's a lot of the same things over and over. Try some linear stuff and see if you can incorporate that. Switch with me, I'll demonstrate. This would probably not actually go well in a worship set, but if you're playing that AC/DC beat, you want to mix it up a little bit. Put some paradiddles in there. Just like try some different stuff like that. You go for it?
Sure.
Do you remember it?
Maybe.
Okay. Try it first, and then I'll help you out.
Kick, snare. Where's it? At the end.
It's hi-hat, snare at the end. Try it one more time.
No, you said that, okay. Is that right?
That was right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it. Cool. Let's go ahead and switch. Yeah.
This is
Good.
where I'm
Pretty good. So here's what happened to me, and just based on your reaction, you might relate to this a little bit. I learned a lot of rock beats where like hi-hat had to be there all the time. Yeah, and I didn't learn much of this stuff until like college level. I was in the jazz program at UT and started learning some different jazz and Latin things, and I was like, I can't do this without like hi-hats being there.
Without doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. So right there, that last kick you played, that's where hi-hat snare comes
So
in.
it
on
was,
the
I
four.
couldn't get the 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So it goes from bass drum back to snare to back to hi-hat?
After bass drum, hi-hat, and then snare.
Okay.
Yeah. So slow it down just a little bit. Try kick, snare, hat, and then kick, snare, kick, and then hat, snare at the end.
Oh, hat snare. I
Yeah,
thought it had,
yeah.
okay. I don't think that was right. So.
That's okay.
That's a tongue
Yeah.
twister.
I'm not
Yeah.
good at that.
That's okay. You had it one time in there, and again, try mixing stuff up with this and see if you
Now,
can
do you find
work it in
yourself
there.
playing those types of rhythms in the type of songs that we sing?
I wouldn't necessarily do that one, but the thing that helped me with is moving around the kit and making fills a little more interesting, but
Okay.
still pretty simple. So
Okay.
that kind of like, I like to boil it down even more from what I'm physically playing to just kick, left, right, kick, left, left, and then start moving that pattern around to where my right hand can be doing maybe something else, like, and then, start switching out the hats for a bass drum. I'm doing all the same movements, just switching what I'm playing. So let's say I'm doing like a big slow worship song, and I want to do that pattern to make it more of a fill. I could do something like this. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
that
I
makes
probably
sense.
wouldn't mess up the groove that much
Right.
in a worship song, but for a fill, instead of just, the basic kind of roll around the kit, you can mix it up with some.
And after I saw you with the last year's
Yeah.
worship gathering we had, that makes sense that he does that. I've seen him actually do that.
Yeah.
So you do that, and it sounds there's a certain professionalism behind that because of the tendency to do all these chops that
Sure.
sound a whole lot cleaner.
Gotcha.
This
Yeah.
way.
I hope so.
Well, in the ensemble setting, it sounds a whole lot cleaner.
Yeah. And again, like early starting out, first 2 or 3 years that I played, it was all roll. And then I lost that tom because I hate that tom. And then just roll, extra roll, and then into the chorus. So
No tom here still feels weird to me the way that this
Yeah.
church takes it away. It's just weird.
So y'all don't have any toms other than your 4?
you do one up
You
high,
have you
right?
one single tom. Okay.
Yeah.
Tom
Okay.
1 and 3, that's what we use.
Yeah.
Right. I
mean,
kind
two
of like
is
it
over
better
there,
this
it's
way,
stored.
but
So let me ask you
There's
this:
a little bit
miking them
missing.
up, because now we're having to learn about
Yeah,
this other
yeah.
kind of stuff. So we have mic in the bass, obviously,
Mhm.
and we have I put a bass mic on the floor tom.
Is it a Beta 52?
Yes.
Okay.
And then of course we have mics on each one of the drums,
Uh-huh.
top and bottom for the snare,
Love it.
and 2 up top.
Okay.
So all that's a setup for every morning, every
Wow.
Sunday morning. So
It's a lot.
Yeah,
Lots
but-
of mic.
I was just wondering if we need to
Yes.
simplify that.
I would honestly say, unless you're playing to a room where it could hold like 1,000 people, how many people could be
It
in
can
that
hold
room?
1,000 in there.
Probably, yeah. Then, if anything, try losing the overheads. Make
Okay.
a pitch for that, just to simplify it.
We've had to put
because-
up 2 round
Right.
discs for the cymbals.
Right, right.
Plexiglass cymbal discs.
Yeah, it's
To
gonna sound
squash it a little bit.
Yeah, it's always gonna sound better in the mix if you have those overheads. At One Life in the Powell Auditorium 10 years ago, when we started, didn't do any overheads, and to my ear, like I can tell that there's a difference, but for the general sound and stuff, simplifying that and just telling drummers to like chill on cymbals, which
Yeah.
we all should probably always.
And that's
do.
all we had to. I play much softer than we have like 3 drummers that rotate.
Okay, yeah.
Through our stuff right now. I play much softer than everybody
Yeah.
else.
So for you, it's probably a great idea to have overheads.
Right.
And I think it helps if there's ever like a Tom's only kind of part to a song, which people aren't really doing that much anymore. But for those other guys, sometimes the overheads just aren't really that necessary.
Okay.
That extra crispness to the sound, I don't think adds a whole lot to a worship setting, unless it's like the big arena somewhere or
Right.
something.
I'm just curious what
Yeah.
other people are doing.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the overheads, especially because Kevin Callis and I, who are the only 2 drummers at this point,
That's his name.
Kevin Callis,
Yes.
both of us like incorporating toys into the stuff that we do because
Just
that's
catching
the-
your shaker and stuff like
because
that.
that's the stuff that we get assigned here.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember drumming in the 90s, that was different. There was slapping the bass and more funky and more muting with Fender Stratocasters. There was
Yeah.
a very different sound back then, more like Al Jarreau type of sound, whereas today's sound, especially here in the Southeast, is very folky. So we try to incorporate, I like the overhead for the toys, because sometimes it's a very different sound in the auditorium than in the recording. So in the recording, if I bring a toy, man, I want to hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So these shakers here at the beginning of a song, for example, sometimes I do shakers and then grab my mallet mallets and I do some cymbal washing, just a soft cymbal washing,
Cool.
trying to build up that dynamic, like raising the floor. I like to hear that stuff in the ears, and also while I play in the track, the recording. You can't do that without the overhead.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
that's for me.
Yeah.
That's just me. But in the auditorium, it can sound really loud.
Right,
sometimes.
right.
Yeah.
Can we do one last thing? Because when you said shaker and then some cymbal wash,
Yeah.
we'll take a break here in a second because I have to pee so bad. That's all on camera too. One last thing that's really, really helpful, and this is better if you have like a crash cymbal right here, so I'm going to do the exercise a little differently. Try quarter notes, eighth notes over here with your left, and then swell with 16th notes on your right. So I'll do eighths over here and 16ths here first. And the biggest thing to remember is just keep this exactly the same dynamic. You're going to want to play louder and louder as you're swelling. So. A little harder with quarter notes and 16ths. So. Stuff like that, and even we can watch the hi-hats a little bit. Get into a chorus like that, or a verse if it's like, you know, the typical worship song is verse is down, chorus is down. Then there's an interlude where you add a little bit of color, and then. You know, whatever from there. So I'm gonna go to the bathroom. If y'all want to try that, you can.
All right, so where's the restrooms at?
It's
Hang a right.
It's follow me. It's like
Back.
hang a right and then right around this corner right here.
Oh, man.
So what size is this cymbal here? This is
That's
a
a
K.
2.8.
It's a K, and it's K is real dark, so
Yeah.
yeah, just want to in order to dry it.
That's a hard independence thing I've never tried.
Yeah.
Keeping this, you know.
I'm trying to imagine. Let's see. This is way lower than I'm used to playing, and definitely I'm very short. So it's mostly sitting on the pedals, but that's kind of the idea. Is there's that without other instruments and with the dryness of the K, it sounds really loud. But do you have mallets? Do you like playing with mallets?
I haven't really much ever.
Okay.
Mostly sticks. I just, I quit drums for a few years and I recently just picked it up again. Because I hurt my wrist.
Yeah.
And so I got rid of all my gear I had. And so I just bought hot rods again. To try to add that kind of color to my repertoire.
Yeah. I'm similar to what you were saying. I've never had a drum set at home. I suppose the type of kid I was growing up, I'm the oldest. And my siblings, mom and dad, the